Hey everyone, today we're going to be checking out some new luggage from Bellroy. Here I have their Transit carry-on and their Lite carry-on. Bellroy continues to expand their growing collection of travel and everyday carry gear. I've been a huge fan of their backpacks for a long time now, so I was excited to hear that they were going to be entering the luggage category as well. I've had a chance to use these for the past month or so, and in this video I'm going to be talking about what it's been like to test them. I'll show you how I loaded them out, walk through all the features, and I'll also talk about how they compare to some of the other similar items that are currently on the market. Before jumping into the video, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and you'd be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with the Lite carry-on, the aesthetic and the design here are similar to Bellroy's Lite travel backpacks. I've always been a fan of the minimal and slightly rugged vibe that those bags offer, so great to see that carried through here. And I think this is something that's gonna work well for all types of travel. As far as the materials, this feels very solidly built. The exterior fabric is a ripstop nylon, and I like that this is more of a soft shell style roller, so it's gonna compress down and the materials are gonna mold around the items that are on the inside, so it's gonna give you some extra flexibility over a hard shell roller, which I'm a big fan of. And then the weight on this is a little bit over 2 kilograms, so it's not the lightest per se, which is always gonna come with the territory with, roller bags and things like that. But I think that it strikes a good balance of giving you a little bit of weight savings and then a durable material, premium feeling kind of components all throughout. Continuing along the outside of the bag, you have reliable YKK zippers all throughout and some really nice handles, one on the side and one at the top. These feel well reinforced. They make it easy to grab the bag when you're trying to place it into an overhead storage compartment or get it in and out of a trunk. And then this is a 2-wheel roller, and I really like the system that's been implemented here. The wheels are, kind of inspired by the types of wheels you would see on rollerblades, so they're meant to work well on more uneven surfaces, super smooth, they feel very durable. And then you have, this solid piece here that you can use to stand the bag up, or can also work to pick the bag up. It kind of has this extra handle here that you can use. And so this system has worked very smoothly. I really like the wheels. And one of the cool things about these bags in general is that they're meant to be very repairable on your own. So for the wheels here, you can see that there's just one screw that you loosen. You can replace the wheels. You don't have to worry about the whole bag becoming unusable. You can also replace the telescoping handle, which is here at the top. There's a zipper that you can use to store the handle if you're gonna be placing this into an overhead storage compartment or just wanna prevent it from getting, snagged on anything. And this handle works very well. You have a couple of different levels that this comes up to, super smooth. You actually have the button underneath the handle. And so that's interesting because many of the roller bags that I use typically have it on the top. And so, it can be easy to just kind of, as you're picking the handle up, grabbing it from the bottom, and then it locks into place securely. It has worked well with the heights that it offers to just pull the bag behind me. And so, it's a different style of bag compared to the 4-wheeler spinner that we're gonna take a look at in a second. But I think that this can definitely work well depending on where you're going and how you like to, roll your bag around. Moving into the capacity, the Lite carry-on comes in at about 38 liters, which is a really great one bag travel size in my opinion. This is the type of thing that I would feel comfortable taking onto pretty much any domestic or international airline and storing in an overhead storage compartment. And I like that it's able to hold the items that I would normally take with me on a 1 to 2 week trip, but because of the soft shell nature of the bag and the way that it molds around everything, it never felt overwhelmingly big or bulky. So far, this system has worked consistently as far as allowing me to stand the luggage up on its own, access the pockets when I need to, just have it next to me without worrying that it's gonna fall over. And the last thing I'll mention on the exterior is that you also have the Bellroy branding on the front. Pretty subtle, but it is, in the center here so you can clearly see it. Jumping into the organizational options, the layout here is pretty simple. You have a quick access pocket on the front that's gonna offer a nice amount of volume, very easy to reach while you're rolling this around and placing it next to you. And you have this attachment point here where you could thread the zipper pull through if you wanna maybe secure these to give yourself a little bit of theft deterrence. And you can also use that to maybe clip on an additional accessory. And this is gonna offer a nice amount of volume. So definitely the type of place where you could put your toiletries, maybe a smaller packable jacket. I have my Peak Design tote pouch here. And then I also have resting at the bottom because of the volume that's offered a pair of sunglasses, and I have a travel adapter if I'm going internationally. On the back, you have some additional built-in organization, a couple of slip pockets. So here I have portable battery in one of them, and then a small slot for a pen or a stylus, and another slip pocket that could be a good spot for a charging cable, another portable battery, a mouse, so a variety of items. And you also have a little lanyard with a clip that's gonna be a good spot for your keys. Moving into the main compartment, this has a suitcase style opening. The zipper for this area is lockable, which is nice. And then you can open this up, and the layout again is going to be pretty familiar if you've seen Bellroy's Lite travel backpacks, which I think is a good thing. I've always been a fan of that layout. And so with those 38 liters of space, I was able to store an extra packing cube. I'm resting it here at the top. I was also able to store Bellroy's Lite Ready packable backpack, one of my favorites, and definitely the type of thing that I might take with me if I'm traveling with a luggage like this. So great to have that there. And you also have this zipper on the front, which is meant to pair with some of the laptop sleeves that Bellroy sells. You could, store your laptop in here without a sleeve, but it's not padded, so you'll want to keep that in mind. But the idea is that you can reach in from the top and grab your laptop if you're going through TSA. So, a good solution if maybe you don't want to take an extra backpack and you use a case with your device. In my case, I just chose to leave this empty. And on the lid, you have an additional zippered pocket that has a good bit of volume, particularly since you don't have a zippered pocket on the front. This is all just space that you can use as an additional packing cube if you want to put clothing in here, separate out toiletries, jacket. And then at the top, you have another zippered pocket, again, with a good bit of volume. You could use it for socks, underwear. In my case, I just put my toiletry bag in there. This is the Air Dot Kit, just so you could see how it would fit. And then on the other side, you have a zippered divider, and I really like that you have the option to open it from either direction. Sometimes it's so frustrating when you're trying to get to something quickly and the zippers are not easy to grab to, so thought that was a pretty cool idea that you could just grab it, open it up, and then you get to this spacious main compartment where I have my typical minimal travel setup. Here I have an extra pair of shoes in a packing cube and my Peak Design cubes, the smaller compressible packing cube, and then I have the medium compressible packing cube. Both of those fit in there very comfortably. And now with the compartment empty, you can get a better look at the inside. You do have the telescoping handle here at the back, so you can kind of pack around that. That's, kind of comes with the territory with many roller bags, is, having to fill these gaps. You can do so with, socks, underwear, shirts, other accessories. I've, always experimented with different ways to really optimize the space that I'm using. And then on the inside here, you also have the tag area where you can store an air tag to just, give yourself a little bit more peace of mind while you're traveling. So, not going overboard with the amount of, organization offered here. And I like that. I prefer to have just an open space, keep things simple so that I can pack in the way that's going to make the most sense for me and really hold as many things as I possibly can in this, capacity of bags. So a great layout here, very effective and easy to pack. And if you're looking for a rugged soft shell roller, then this is going to be a really cool option to take a look at. Moving into the transit carry-on, this has the minimal and sleek aesthetic that you would expect from a modern hard shell roller bag. And I think that it looks great. I like some of the touches that Bellroy has added to give it a little bit of a distinct kind of visual appearance. There's a slight indentation on the front. You have the Bellroy logo, so very clean. I think this is gonna, work great for all sorts of travel. As far as the materials, this feels very solidly built. This exterior shell is a polycarbonate material that feels like it's gonna hold up well to the rigors of travel. You're gonna be able to toss this around. It doesn't feel like it's gonna, get damaged. You're of course gonna develop scuffs and things like that. That just seems to come with the territory with hard shell rollers, but it does feel like everything that's on the inside is gonna be protected. And then as far as the weight, this comes in at about 3.1 kilograms. And roller bags in general, particularly the hard shell ones, are not going to be the lightest options on the market, but I would say that this is pretty good compared to some of the other similarly sized options that I've tested out. Beyond that, you have a really nice YKK zipper for the primary compartment that's going to be weather resistant, puncture resistant. You have an integrated TSA lock here combination, so you can adjust that to whatever works best for you that you can remember. And I always like having these integrated, as it's just one less thing that I have to worry about when I'm traveling. I think that it gets the job done. It at least prevents the zippers from moving around, and then it just gives you a level of theft deterrence, which is nice. And on the exterior, you also have really nice handles. I really like how these have been implemented. Very kind of premium feeling seatbelt-like material. They expand out when you want to grab them, and then they kind of collapse in against the bag. So you have at the top, and then you have one on the side. So this is going to be very helpful for loading this into an overhead storage compartment, into a trunk. On the bottom, you have some very high quality Hinomoto wheels that have worked consistently. They felt smooth regardless of whether I'm pushing the bag, pulling in. I've been able to roll it around in circles and I haven't had any issues. And you know, they're pretty silent, which is nice. And I like that they don't come out too far from the bottom of the bag. I never like when the wheels of a roller bag add to the height, as it just makes it trickier to store in different overhead storage areas. And so I think that they did a great job here. And then with the side handles, with the wheels, and with the telescoping handle, again, the emphasis is on making it easy to repair these components yourself, which I think is really cool because you're investing in these premium luggages. It's a shame if you have to ship it off to have it repaired, or you know, you have to replace the whole thing. Bellroy, of course, offers good warranty. They offer high quality products, but still it's nice to have that additional level of self-reliance. And so speaking of the telescoping handle, like the one that we saw on the Lite carry-on, this has worked very consistently. It is reliably locking into place. There's 3 different heights. And so whether you're pulling it, whether you're rolling it, you can adjust it to whatever is gonna be the most comfortable for you. And then you have the button on the bottom again. So when you're pulling it up, you can compress that down as opposed to pushing down. And so, I think that that's worked pretty well. Both ways work for me, but interesting to see something a little bit different there. And then taking a look at the capacity, this comes in at about 41 liters, which is a really great carry-on size. This is something that I would be comfortable taking with me on domestic and international airlines, storing it in an overhead storage compartment, and it offers more than enough space for a couple of weeks of travel. This is definitely the type of size that I like to pair with, a day pack when I'm going for a little bit longer or I need some extra flexibility. And so, I think that it strikes a good balance without being overly big. And as far as the layout, very simple. This has just the main compartment. There's no quick access pockets on the exterior. Super simple, which I actually prefer because that means that the space is, dedicated to storing your stuff on the inside. And it's also not adding extra weight with, additional zippers and pockets and things to consider. So I think that that was a great call. And so as I mentioned earlier, you have the lock that's integrated here and the smooth working zippers. And you have kind of a standard suitcase style layout. So you have your 2 segments that you can use to organize your stuff. And on one side, you have a zippered mesh pocket that you could use to store additional accessories. You may be able to slide your laptop in there, but I really wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to put it in between these 2 segments. So this is more just a spot to store maybe some small medicines or tech items if I wanted to. And then you have divider on one side, which you have, again, the zippers that you can open from either direction. So from the bottom, from the top, I think that's a really cool touch. And then on the inside here, you just have a large open space. And so at the moment, I have my additional pair of shoes in a packing cube. And then I have my packable backpack. This is the Bellroy Lite Ready Pack that I also had in the other luggage. I absolutely love how well this folds, and then you still have, just the super comfortable straps and back panel. So one of my favorites. And then one of the things that I'll typically take advantage of if I'm traveling with a roller bag like this is an extra pair of shoes that I might not take with me if I was traveling with just one bag, super minimally. And so in this case, I have a pair of running shoes in here. I just wrapped them up in a plastic bag. And these are Nike Vomeros. They fit in here. They're a little bit bulkier. They're not the heaviest shoes, but this is just the type of thing that normally I would have to wear it on my feet while going through the airport. With something like this, I now have flexibility if I want to take boots, if I have, hiking shoes or other things that I don't want to store in the suitcase, but I still need an extra pair of shoes. And then I have an additional packing cube here. So all of that fit in there very comfortably. You can see just super open space. I love that there's no complications from the outside. And then in this section, you have another tag that's going to be a great spot to store an air tag or any other sort of location tracker that you might have. And that's good that that's kind of hidden here in this area. And then on the other side, you have this really cool integrated kind of packing cube system that plays double duty as both a divider to keep the items in this main area secured, but then they're also packing cubes on their own. They have a good bit of dimension here. And so if you don't have a packing cube setup, I think that this is a really useful solution. And so at the moment, mine are empty because what I did notice is that you can't have my normal packing cubes and then fill this up with a bunch of stuff and fill the other side up. It all starts to just become a little bit too much for the bag, which makes sense. There's only so much space, but you can leave these empty and then they just work as the dividers, and they have, you know, these attachment points here, very easy to release, and you can fully remove them if you prefer not to use them at all. So great to see the modularity and the flexibility that this layout offers. Then here again, my Peak Design cubes, which is just the ones that I have in all my videos, so that you have a reference point as far as sizing. Medium packing cube here, and then the small packing cube, and both of those fit in there very comfortably. It still felt like there was a little bit of leftover space, particularly on the back here where you have the gaps from the telescoping handle. And so, you know, as I mentioned with the Lite carry-on, I'm always looking for ways to kind of optimize how I use this space, but it was able to hold my packing cubes. And then I think that this is a great packing cube solution as well. It seems like they're almost modeled size-wise similar to the Peak Design. So you have kind of a medium one, and then you have a small one. So, you know, they'll be able to hold a good amount. You can attach them. You can use them as you would any other packing cubes. And again, you can remove them if you don't want to use them at all. So, you know, I think that this is a nice, unique touch at this point in the roller bag game. It's, I imagine, getting tougher to differentiate, you know, among the features that different companies can offer. And so I think that, you know, Bellroy did a great job with this one of focusing on the space and providing you as much space as possible, along with just, you know, high quality material, something that's going to work reliably. And, you know, if you're looking for a sleek, high quality roller bag that is also going to allow you to repair some of the key components, then I think that this is an excellent option to take a look at. And so to wrap up, it's been a great experience testing out Bellroy's Transit and Lite carry-on roller bags. You can currently purchase these on Bellroy's site, and I'll make sure to include links in the description below to the dedicated product pages if you're interested in learning more or picking one of these up. And so as I was testing these out, the first item they made me think of is Peak Design's Roller Pro carry-on suitcase, which I featured pretty recently on the channel. That was a really interesting roller bag in that it opens clamshell style versus opening down the middle like the Transit Carry-On Pro. And it had some really interesting features, a very cool telescoping handle that was super slim. Everything on it worked, you know, as you would expect for a carry-on suitcase. The wheels were very smooth and reliable. I really like the organizational layout on that. The outer compartment with the laptop sleeve worked pretty well. And, you know, it's a roller bag that also offers the ability to mix and match with Peak Design's ecosystem of camera gear and other accessories. And so I thought that it was a really sleek, useful design. And if you're looking for a roller bag that's gonna have a little bit of a different organizational layout, then that's gonna be an excellent one to consider. The next item this made me think of is Air's carry-on suitcase, which had a pretty similar, sleek, modern design to the Transit carry-on. So it is a hard shell roller, opens down the middle, it's got a nice amount of space, it's offered in 2 different sizes, great wheels on that. One of my favorite things about the design with Air's carry-on is that it has a brake for the wheels to prevent it from rolling away. I haven't seen that on too many suitcases, so that's really cool. And then it's just got Air's typical excellent build quality. So if you're looking for something, you know, that's gonna be very durable and sleek, that's gonna be another great one to keep in mind. And then the last option that I'll mention here is the Mystery Ranch Mission Rover roller bag, which was kind of a hybrid option that felt like a duffel bag, but you did have the ability to roll it. It reminded me a little bit of the Lite carry-on bag that I featured in this video. So it didn't have the super rigid structure. I really liked the highly weather resistant materials that it offers. And then at 45 liters, which was the size that I tried out, it offered a ton of space. And, you know, really great handle, smooth working wheels. I like the organizational layout on that. It had that duffel style opening, 2 external pockets that help provide some separation from the main area. It's also offered in larger sizes. I think there was an 80 and 100 liter or something like that if you really need a ton of space. And so that's just a very rugged, functional bag. And if you want something that's going to give you the benefits of kind of the duffel and roller bags, then that's going to be an excellent option to take a look at. With that being said, the Bellroy Transit Carry-On and Lite Carry-On hold up very well against all those options. They offer the build quality and design that I would expect from Bellroy's other products. And if you're looking for something that's going to be sleek, functional, and it's going to give you plenty of space and a couple of different options as far as the style, then these are going to be some fantastic options to take a look at. And I'm definitely curious to hear what you think of Bellroy's new luggage collection and how these compare to some of the other popular carry-on bags that are currently on the market. If there's any similar options that you think that I should check out, as always, please let me know in the comments. And I want to thank Bellroy for sending the bags for me to test out, and to you guys for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.